World War II didn't just have a handful of rifles, but the global inventory was absolutely staggering. From the experimental prototypes to the battle-tested legends, let's take a look at every single rifle that took to the battlefield across all major nations. Let's begin with American rifles. M1 Garand. This was arguably America's finest achievement in rifle design. It was semi-automatic, reliable, and could certainly match any enemy rifle in the field. General Patton famously called it the greatest battle implement ever devised. Its 8-round en-bloc clip gave American infantry a critical rate-of-fire advantage throughout the war. M1903, Springfield. It was the most numerous bolt-action rifle used during the early conflict. While rugged and highly accurate, it was limited by its manual operation. Marine Corps snipers particularly favored it with telescopic sights, where its precision made it exceptionally deadly at extended ranges. M1 Carbine. This lightweight design was intended for support troops and paratroopers. Unfortunately, its .30 carbine cartridge lacked stopping power in jungle combat. By the time it reached Pacific Island battles, soldiers were struggling against enemy troops who could absorb multiple hits and keep fighting. Up next, M1941 Johnson Rifle, a slick design primarily used by Marine paratroopers and special forces. It excelled at rapid fire with its rotary magazine. This design spawned interest in alternative semi-automatic systems, though it never replaced the Garand in widespread service. Now let's move on to German rifles. Karabiner 98K. This was the backbone of the Wehrmacht throughout the entire war. While exceptionally accurate and beautifully manufactured, it was a bolt-action design in an era increasingly dominated by semi-automatics. Enemy forces often exploited the slower rate of fire, especially during Soviet counteroffensives. Gewehr 43. This semi-automatic rifle promised exceptional firepower thanks to its gas-operated system. It was effective enough to challenge American and Soviet designs. Sadly, the production lines were completely overwhelmed by material shortages before the design could ever enter widespread service. Gewehr 41, an earlier generation semi-automatic design featuring a complex gas trap system, which made it clearly unreliable by wartime standards. It was relegated to limited frontline use, though some still served briefly on the Eastern Front before being replaced. Up next, Volkssturmgewehr. This was a desperate last-ditch weapon hurriedly produced to arm the Volkssturm militia. While quick to produce and reasonably simple, users complained bitterly about its crude construction and frequent malfunctions. STG-44, Sturmgewehr 44. This was perhaps Germany's most modern and revolutionary design. Its intermediate cartridge allowed selective fire with controllable recoil, despite being an excellent weapon that pioneered the assault rifle concept. Poor tactical deployment and late introduction meant that it couldn't change the war's outcome. Taking a step back, Soviet rifles. Mosin-Nagant M91-30. This was the most numerous rifle used during the conflict on the Eastern Front. While rugged and highly reliable in extreme cold, it was a 19th century design facing modern warfare. German forces often exploited the Red Army's slower bolt-action fire rates during the early Barbarossa campaign. SVT-40, Tokarev. This semi-automatic design was intended to modernize Soviet infantry. Unfortunately, serious manufacturing complexity and maintenance issues crippled its early deployment. By the time production ramped up, the Mosin-Nagant remained more practical for poorly trained conscript armies. A VS-36, a very early, ambitious, semi-automatic design. It was part of a major pre-war modernization program. However, mechanical problems and fragility in field conditions meant only a tiny number saw sustained action before being withdrawn from service. PPS-43. Submachine gun, worth mentioning. Though technically a submachine gun, this compact weapon filled rifle roles in urban combat. Its simple stamped construction made it perfect for Stalingrad's ruins and partisan warfare behind German lines. Meanwhile, British rifles. Lee Enfield No. 4, Mark I. This was Britain's primary battle rifle throughout the war. Its 10-round magazine and smooth bolt action gave trained soldiers an impressive rate of fire. The Mad Minute drill, 15 accurate shots in 60 seconds, demonstrated its combat effectiveness in the hands of professional infantry. Lee Enfield No. 5, Mark I Jungle Carbine. This shortened, lightened variant promised better handling in dense vegetation. It was designed specifically for Pacific and Burma campaigns. Sadly, a severe recoil problem and accuracy issues limited its popularity among troops who preferred the full-length No. 4, the famous pattern 1914. Enfield, this older design chambered in .303, British saw extensive use in training and home guard units. While well-made and accurate, it was considered obsolete for frontline service by 1939. Some were converted into sniper rifles and performed admirably in that specialized role. In stark contrast, Japanese rifles. Arisaka Type 99. This was Japan's standard rifle during the Pacific War. While robust and reliable in tropical conditions, it featured a somewhat weak cartridge compared to Western designs. American Marines quickly learned to respect its accuracy, especially when wielded by entrenched defenders. Arisaka Type 38. An earlier generation design featuring a smaller 6.5mm cartridge, which made it clearly underpowered for modern combat. It was relegated to second-line troops and garrison units, though frontline soldiers still carried it throughout China and early Pacific battles. Type 2 Paratrooper Rifle. This was a takedown version of the Type 99, designed to be broken into two pieces for airborne operations. While ingeniously engineered, Japan's limited paratrooper operations meant very few saw actual combat drops. Type 100 Submachine Gun, worth noting. Japan produced remarkably few submachine guns compared to other nations. This design saw limited service with special naval landing forces and tank crews, but never achieved the distribution of American or German equivalents. On the heavier side, Italian rifles. Carcano M 91/38. This was Italy's standard infantry rifle throughout the war. While reasonably accurate and featuring a unique en-bloc clip system, it suffered from poor sights and weak ammunition. Allied forces often captured them, but rarely chose to use them over their own weapons. Carcano M9141, a longer-barreled variant intended for improved accuracy and range. Unfortunately, it arrived too late and in too few numbers to make any meaningful impact. Most were lost during Italy's chaotic 1943 armistice and German occupation. Beretta Model 38 submachine gun deserves mention. Though not a rifle, this was arguably Italy's finest small arm. Its quality construction and reliability made it highly prized by both Axis and Allied soldiers who captured examples. Then we have the French rifles. MAS-36. This sturdy bolt-action design was France's most modern rifle at the war's outbreak. Its unusual straight pull bolt and forward-mounted sling made it distinctive. After France's fall, both Vichy forces and the resistance used whatever examples they could secure. Liebel M1886/93, an obsolete black powder era design featuring a tubular magazine which made it clearly antiquated by 1940. It was relegated to rear echelon and colonial troops, though desperate soldiers used anything available during the fall of France. Berthier rifles, various models. These represented France's attempt to modernize before developing the MAS-36. While more practical than the Lebel with their clip-fed magazines, they were still fundamentally outdated bolt-actions that couldn't compete with German firepower. Up next, Finnish Rifles, Mosin-Nagant M39. This was a Finnish-modified version of the Russian Mosin-Nagant, featuring superior accuracy and craftsmanship. It was the backbone of Finnish forces during both the Winter War and Continuation War. Simo Heiha, history's deadliest sniper, used an iron-sighted M28/30 variant to devastating effect against Soviet troops. Suomi KP-31 submachine gun, worth including. Finland's excellent submachine gun, often substituted for rifles in close forest combat. Its 71-round drum magazine and reliability in Arctic conditions made it feared by Soviet infantry throughout the Winter War. Meanwhile, Polish rifles. Karabiner WZ-29. This was Poland's standard rifle in 1939, essentially a modified Mauser design. While well-made and accurate, Polish forces were simply overwhelmed by German armor and air power before rifle quality could matter. Many were captured and used by German occupation forces. Maroszek WZ-35. A very sleek, modern, semi-automatic design. It was part of a major pre-war modernization program. However, manufacturing had barely begun when Germany invaded, meaning only prototype and pre-production examples existed during the September campaign. Taking a step back, Chinese rifles. Hanyang 88. This was a Chinese-produced copy of the German Gewehr 88. While numerous in nationalist arsenals, it was hopelessly obsolete and poorly manufactured. Japanese forces easily outgunned Chinese troops armed with these antiquated rifles during the invasion. Chiang Kai-shek rifle. This was a Chinese copy of the Mauser standard model. Quality varied wildly between arsenals, from decent to dangerously unreliable. Nationalist forces used whatever they could produce or import, creating a logistical nightmare of incompatible ammunition and parts. Various captured rifles. Chinese forces used an astounding variety of captured Japanese, Soviet, American, British, and German rifles throughout the war. This diversity reflected China's desperate material situation and reliance on foreign aid from multiple sources. Finally, the experimental designs and minor combatants. Netherlands, M95, Mannlicher, an obsolete bolt-action design that Dutch forces used during their brief 1940 defense. After the Netherlands fell, these rifles were seized by German forces and used for occupation duties and training. Belgium, FN Model 30. This was a Belgian Mauser variant used during the 1940 campaign. Like Dutch weapons, most were captured intact and distributed to German garrison units or collaborationist forces. Norway Krag-Jørgensen M1894, an old single-shot design featuring a unique side-loading gate magazine. Norwegian forces used these during their 1940 resistance before being overwhelmed. The Germans found them useful for occupation duties in Norway's terrain. Hungary 35M rifle. This was a Hungarian-produced Mannlicher design. It served throughout Hungary's involvement on the Eastern Front, though it was completely conventional and offered no particular advantages over other bolt-action rifles. Romania VZ-24 rifle. Romanian forces used this Czech-produced Mauser variant extensively on the Eastern Front. While reliable, Romanian troops often suffered from poor training and logistics rather than rifle inadequacy. The famous Pedersen rifle. This was a promising but ultimately unsuccessful American prototype from the 1930s. While intended to replace the M1903 Springfield, testing revealed the Garand superior, and the Pedersen never entered production. Burton Light Rifle, another American experimental design featuring innovative delayed blowback operation. It was rejected in favor of the Garand, though it demonstrated interesting mechanical concepts that influenced later designs. To wrap things up, that covers the rifles of World War II across all major combatants. From the mass-produced Mosin-Nagants and Kar-98Ks to the revolutionary St. G-44 and forgotten Chinese arsenal pieces, every nation's industry tried everything to arm their soldiers. The war saw the twilight of bolt-action dominance and the dawn of semi-automatic and assault rifle eras. Which one of these rifles was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.